£43 a night doesn't really get you much in Playa del Carmen, but what it does get you is Hotel Las Golondrinas, a centrally located hotel right in the heart of town. And in this video, I'm going to show you whether you can still get a bargain on the Riviera Maya, and also show you a few of the cool things you can do in the area. With the hotel being centrally located, you're not too far away from the main drag in Playa del Carmen, better known as 5th Avenue. Now, myself being chronically British, the vibe of the street really did not match too well with my temperament at all. There's lots of loud music, even louder people, and, well, it's extremely touristy. In fact, I think it would be fair to say it's possibly one of the least Mexican places in all of Mexico. However, that said, there's still some fun bars to explore, and it was quite a good place to do a bit of people watching. And of course, you can't talk about Playa del Carmen without mentioning the beaches, which is probably the main draw of the place. The main beach in Playa del Carmen during the morning and early afternoon actually has a relatively chilled vibe. You know, you can enjoy the turquoise waters and the white sands, and it's pretty much as you'd imagine. But later on in the day, the music from the hotels and the bars nearby does get turned up, and the whole place shifts into more of a party atmosphere. Now, this might be exactly what you're after, and I have to admit I did enjoy a few beers on the beach. However, if you're looking for more of a relaxed beach experience, then I'd say this part of Playa del Carmen definitely isn't the place to go. But don't worry, I actually have a better and more chilled beach recommendation coming later up. And if you already have a trip booked to Playa del Carmen, I have some pretty useful travel guides linked in the description, or you can check out my website via the QR code. As for other attractions in Playa del Carmen, well, you are actually quite limited. Once you spend a bit of time on the beach and maybe done a little bit of shopping, there isn't really much else to do. There's a small church, a sort of square area with a sculpture and some street art, and that's about it. You also have the Playa del Carmen ruins, which are low to mid tier, absolutely best. So I would say, in my opinion, the best thing to do in Playa del Carmen is, well, leave. Not because it's bad, but because the rest of Riviera Maya is just so much more fun. So onto the hotel. Why did I book this specific place? Well, I was looking for somewhere cheap to base myself whilst exploring the area, and not wanting to spend too much money, I chose Hotel Las Golondrinas. From the outside it's, well, it's basic, isn't it? And as you enter the reception area, things do start to improve a little bit. There is a little bit of nice decor. For me though, the absolute highlight of the hotel was the courtyard pool area in the middle. It kind of reminded me of like an American motel with all the rooms facing into a central courtyard. There was lots of tropical plants and trees surrounding the pool, which gave it a nice, jungly, tropical atmosphere. And booking a hotel with a pool did seem like a bonus at the time of booking, but I never actually used it once, mainly because we spent so much time swimming around in cenotes and other places, and after a full day of being in the water, the last thing that I wanted to do is, come back to the hotel and do more swimming. But still, I really liked the setting, and it was a great place to hang out and have a few beers bought from a local convenience store. And again, mentioning drinking, I promise this is the last time. There is in fact a second pool hidden around the corner, as well as a few water features and seating options. There are some strong positives for the hotel, its location being one of them, close enough to 5th Avenue and the beach, but also far enough away that there isn't too much noise, although my room was at the back of the hotel, so maybe that helped. It's also close to a 7-Eleven, and in the other direction a very large supermarket. As breakfast isn't included in the room rate, the proximity of these stores was pretty vital for getting a cheap breakfast. I did however try out the breakfast. For 200 pesos you have access to a buffet, which is a bit limited, a lot sad. The room is fine, it was completely empty when I ate there, and I can kind of see why. Now onto the room itself. The first word that comes to mind is, well, dark. And to be fair, some of the footage was filmed a bit later on in the day, but overall it did have a slightly dark and dingy feel. It was also quite outdated. I was lucky enough however to have 2 beds, one more than I needed, a nice desk area with a retro phone, and an array of different remote controls. One slightly strange moment while checking out is that I was requested to go back to the room, collect the 3 remote controls and prove that I hadn't stolen them. Now, I'm sure this is standard procedure, or maybe they just didn't trust me. Either way, I didn't get the chance to steal the remote controls. and they let me check out. The bed itself was comfortable and I slept pretty well during my stay at the hotel. I also actually quite liked the retro design of the room, but the worst feature by far was definitely the bathroom. It was very dingy, the shower didn't really work as expected, and getting hot water, well, it was a challenge. The hairdryer also had the habit of falling off the wall every time I tried to use it. Back into the bedroom, there is a small fridge, no minibar, but that doesn't really matter as I was just filling it up with snacks from the convenience store. One big bonus though, the AC did work well, and also you didn't need to put the key card into the thing on the side of the wall to keep electricity on, so you could charge your batteries whilst you're out. And if you don't care about wasting electricity, you'd also get the room nice and arctic, ready for your return. Fantastic after a sweaty day in the sunshine. There's also a TV there that I never used, and a slightly unusual turtle style lampshade. And as expected from a room in this price range, a few scuffs, scrapes and slightly dirty patches around the room. But then again, this trip wasn't about staying in the room or the hotel, it was more about exploring. One of the main trips I did was to Chichén, a few hours drive away from Playa del Carmen, and whilst it's definitely worth visiting, it wasn't actually the most impressive set of rooms I saw during my time in Mexico. Still, worth the drive, and here's my second plug for the website. I have made a very detailed guide about driving from Playa del Carmen. It is an easy drive, but there's a few things to be prepared for, mainly the shock of just how expensive the toll roads are. But despite the extra cost and the fact it didn't quite blow me away as much as I expected, it really is a must visit. I mean, you wouldn't go all the way to Egypt and not visit the pyramids, would you? Well, actually a lot of people do. So my beach recommendation for people staying in Playa del Carmen is Punta Esmeralda. I woke up pre-sunrise on my first visit to the beach because I wanted to photograph the sunrise, and instantly on my arrival preferred it to any of the beaches in Playa del Carmen itself. It has more of a natural beach feel, which is definitely my preference. And for me, the natural attractions around Playa del Carmen were absolutely the highlight. The cenotes, the caves, the wildlife were just so much more interesting than visiting a Starbucks on 5th Avenue. Wow, I hope I haven't been too negative about Playa del Carmen, it's just that everything else in the area is just so much better. So yeah, I actually quite like this hotel. Yes, the rooms are a bit dark, they're a bit dank, you need to conjure the hot water from the shower, and the breakfast is absolutely terrible. I really like the pool area, and for £46 a night, I really don't think you can go wrong. My advice though, if you're anything like me, would be to rent a car and don't stay in Playa del Carmen, which kind of makes this video a little bit redundant really. Anyway, hopefully I'll see you around for more hotel reviews, and next time I'll be in Bali, Indonesia.